Hey, nice people, how you doing? And I want to talk about something I've been studying for literally decades. I want to talk to you about it right now. What does Hyperborea mean, and what does Atlantic Ocean mean? What does Atlantic Ocean mean? And yeah, I think you're gonna like this video, so let's get onto it. Let's put me out of the way, and let's I'll just do that. I'll just do that, yeah. And now let's get onto it. So there we go. So Hyperborea. Okay, after decades of research, I believe it means two different things. It literally means Ireland, Hyper, and Borea, Britain. And what the Greeks have done is to combine it. And this is a Greek thing. If there's any Greeks out there, they can probably confirm this. Just let me know. Basically, how it works is Hiber, there's the Hiber. In ancient geography, one of the names by which Ireland was known to Greek and Roman writers. And Borea is Britain. And what the Greeks have done, they've actually been very clever because this translates directly as extreme north in Greek, but it also captures the original meaning. It's a translation. The Greeks have translated what it means into something similar in Greek that has a meaning in Greek. It's not a transliteration, it's a translation. And basically it means Great Britain and Ireland. To me, that is the only thing it can mean. Britain, Borea, North, Brutus of Troy, founder of Britain. It used to be, or Brute of Troy. Troy, by the way, is I believe it surely is the ancient, it is where the word Turk comes from. It comes from this, Turk, from Troy. And Brutus is the founder of Britain, 1000 BC or so. Who knows who he was? Someone from Turkey, someone from that region, Central Eastern Europe, basically. And he brought a whole tribe of people over, and they are the Britons. And that is what Hyperborea means. The Greeks combine words all the time. For example, the word Sebastocrata, a Byzantine title, it's two words, Sebastos and autocrata. One means prince, one means autocrat, and they combine them into one word, one title. The Germans also do this, massive compound words. And that is what I think Hyperborea originally means, and the Greeks turned it into extreme land in a translation. Now let's get on to Atlantic Ocean, where Hyperborea is located. And this is another thing. And once we know what Atlantic Ocean actually means, we can actually start to decipher ancient mythology a little bit better. So Atlantic Ocean, Atlantic. The best solution for what Atlantic actually means is old land, the old landic, the old land. And this is found in the Aurea Linda book. And people have said, well, this is fake, this is no good, this is rubbish, blah, blah, blah. Someone defended this as genuine. Over the years, there's heated public controversy. But by 1879, it was universally accepted. It was a recent composition. Nevertheless, public controversy continued. Esotericism, Atlantis literature. Is it pseudo-epigraphical? Is it a parody? Is it a poetic fantasy? All these words are very harsh on the book. If you've read the book, it's nothing like this at all. It seems to be a story, an ancient story. And coming from a background of studying medieval manuscripts, what impresses me about the Aurea Linda manuscript is you can actually see different styles of writing within the same book. It's as if it's a collection of different authors. And this is what one would expect in a medieval manuscript. But anyway, it talks about the old land sinking. And if this legend was international, if the Greeks picked it up in Egypt and it's talking about something in the Atlantic, obviously this was an international legend in ancient times. We know the Odysseus story is international. Why not the Atlantis story as well? And just because some people can't wrap their heads around this, don't mean it's wrong. So I think, to my mind, they haven't quite proven it. It says here, someone concludes it was probably intended as a hoax to fool some nationalist Frisians and Orthodox Christians. Well, I mean, that's a little bit abusive as well. You know, that's not evidence of anything. You know, I don't like those kind of arguments because no one really knows. So the old land is the Atland. So did the Greeks therefore pick up this story from the old land people, the people who fled. And I tell you what, it's not just Doggerland, it's the whole thing. Land sunk everywhere to a vast extent. This was in more recent times here in the middle. And basically, all around France, all around this area. So there would have been lots of refugees. Where did they go? They had to go somewhere into Europe. And we've talked about how the Germans possibly evolved here and then pushed inwards, pushing the Slavs out. And if you don't know about this, you would think that the Slavs came in, because otherwise where would the Germans come from? But I think because of this has generated history being the wrong way around, and the Slavs actually were there. But that's another story. We've talked about that in other videos. See my earlier videos if you want to know about that. So that's where Atlantic, to my mind, comes from. So Atlantis, being the genitive, is of the old, the sea of the old land. It means of the old land. But what about ocean? Well, there was only one ocean, the ocean that wrapped around the planet. It is the domain of Ogian. And Og, Book of Giants, basically giants. And you're going to see why in a second. This could be related to the word ocean, which is a very mysterious word. There was a Roman god, by the way, called Oceanus. He's a god. Og was so large, he sought the destruction of the Israelites by uprooting a mountain so large it would have crushed the entire Israelite encampment. The Lord caused a swarm of ants to dig away the center of the mountain, which was nesting on Og's head. The mountain then fell onto Og's shoulders, so he's like Atlas, right? As Og attempted to lift the mountain off himself, the Lord caused Og's teeth to lengthen outward, becoming embedded into the mountain that was now surrounding his head. Moses, fulfilling Yahweh's injunction not to fear him, seized a stick of 10 cubits length and jumped a similar vertical distance, succeeding in striking Og in the ankle. Og fell down and died upon hitting the ground. Many great rabbis, such as Shlomo ibn Adoret, have explained this story in an allegorical manner. Obviously, this story is mixed up. We don't know the original context. There's something about 10 cubits, the context of which is lost. But basically, he's a giant. He's got the mountain on his shoulders. He's Atlas. He's the Atlantic. And basically, he was called Ogien. Ogies, the giant. And I think the word Ocean comes from Ogies. So here is one version, the giant Ujibin. Ujibin, as he's called. I think that's where ocean comes from. And he's carrying a mountain. Very, very interesting. And so basically, the Greek version is Atlas. And Atlas generates Atlantic, land of Atlas, land of Ogian, land of this giant, ocean of this giant. But there has to be also an etymology from the people who actually live there if that word Atlas or Atlantic was carried forth into Greek legend, and therefore the Greeks adopted this word to possibly generate the god Atlas or the story of Atlas, etc. That's my thinking. Now, it's obviously incredibly complex, but now giants. When Odysseus is away for 10 years, he's clearly not just going from Turkey to Greece. It's a round the world voyage, basically. So how does that work? Well, what's happening is in his final shipwreck, he crashes, all his men are killed, and he's washed up at the land of the Phaeacians, which I think might be Peru, because he must have gone somewhere wild. Where is wild? It's somewhere in winter, or it's somewhere, it could be the very feared round the horn. You go around the horn of America. That could have been the shipwreck point in the story, which generated the story. Obviously, the story is fiction, but this mythology could have generated the story. And there are giants. He encounters giants. He encounters the Cyclops on his long voyage, because it is the land of Ogian, the ocean. I think that's where it comes from. And I've been researching this for a really long time. I don't think Atlantic comes directly from Atlas. I think it's generated by something Germanic, because that's where the Germans lived. So anyway, Og's bed, 1770. Very interesting that there's a bed of Og. Okay, obviously I guess it's based on fiction, but anyway, there you go. Okay, thank you so much. Let's bring me back up, and I wish you a really, fun time in exploring ancient mysteries. Cheerio.